Chapter 5, February 10th, 2169. Remis 1 Orbital Observation Station. Current thoughts on how the most recent request by HICOM was one of confusion and then anger. They were currently asking me to scout out an isolated area to land a firebase. Yes, a military base on the planet. Last time I checked, that was a horrible violation of the plans created by the military 70 years ago in the case we meet a civilization more primitive than us. Either way, I wasn't exactly ecstatic of having to have my rover, that was in my family for generations, to put in a really dangerous situation where it can get in the hands of the locals. I was fine with Hope just exploring the moon of Planet X through its ravines and such, but not a world with a native population. The most dangerous thing was the locals acting irrationally. Well, I had no choice, or they would replace me either way. How comes that I had 3 months before the lunar fall arrived with their ships to start putting down fire bases in my part of the world where Hope is at. Luckily, I could have someone else do it for me, one that was very curious into how Hope thinks and where it goes. Influence her shouldn't be too much of a hassle, right? Wanderer Research Society Clubroom, 17th Sectius, 10:55 AE. Alright, people, we have a new plan in place. Today we will begin scouting out possible locations where the Wanderer will appear. As you know, in the past week, we have had no luck in finding it. So last night, I devised a plan to locate places of interest to the Wanderer. I said, place it on a piece of apartment that outlined the plan. Yeah, how we're gonna do that, since, the Wanderer usually does the oddest things, like dig into the ground where nothing of worth is there, said a member. Or stealing some crop and not all of it, only a single berry or a single flower, and not large sprouts, which already removed it as a possible bandit, said another. I chuckled. Well, I was thinking about going to the White Dragon Mountain, because, as you know, I'll most likely being curious on what dragons are. After all, it did come from the heavens, so chances are it never has heard or seen a dragon before. I said. There was rumors of agreement amongst the members. Except, how do we get the white dragons to not attack the Wanderer? Or us, for that matter, a member asked. Well, I was thinking about meeting with the dragons to explain the situation to them. After all, for some to understand, you have to talk, right? I said. So who's ready to go and meet some dragons? I yelled. There was a chorus of yes, and as such, we prepared to head to the Dragon Mountain. After preparing for around a day, we settled off at first light tomorrow morning and hired some adventurers to help protect us. The trip in question was a few days long. During that time, we talked. So what do you think the Wanderer would do if it comes to the mountain? I asked the club. I think it will challenge the White Dragon to a duel, said Ragnar, throwing his hands and fingers in a way that mimicked the claws of a White Dragon. Well, I don't think it's that stupid at all. I'm pretty sure it's just here to explain this world. Sort of did say it came from the heavens, right? That's Ray A. Hey. Her dog ears perking up at the fact it may be peaceful. Are you seriously think you'll be brave enough to enter the White Dragon's territory? I'm pretty sure I could have gotten a glimpse of a mat that said, "Nope, I'm out of here," said Rick, his wings flapping in anticipation. Well, guys, all we can do is wait and see. So I say we get some sleep to see what tomorrow brings, I said. I'd agreed on that, and as such, we all returned to our beds. The next morning I woke up, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. No monsters, no goblins, nothing. It's awfully quiet. This area is well known for having lots of monsters, right? I asked the leaders of the adventurers we hired. Yes, but it seems we're lucky enough the monsters here decided to take a day off, said the adventurer. On a cliff 30 yards away was a 9-foot tall humanoid. had a blue face that looked like a human, with clothes that has patterns that matches the plant life and trees of the local wildlife. On the other hand, that had the same patterns of its clothes. In its hands was an LMG known as the Rapid Tiger A2, also known as the RT-A2 for short. Luck. Right, I said, overlooking the group of people from different racial backgrounds. For the past 38 hours, I've been trailing this group to make sure they won't come under attack, since I was the one who encouraged Soda to undertake a mission to go to a place of interest where the wanderer most likely go. By most likely, I mean it will go there. I just did it so the locals there don't immediately try to destroy hope. I chose this location because it was well isolated, but I want to make sure either it's uninhabited or gain the permission of the locals to set up a base on their territory. But I guess they leave. But since this was supposed to be a secret base outside of the view of the local nations on this world, the Dracochen ought to be referred to as the White Dragons, were a reptilian race that had no interest in contacting the outsider world unless someone came to them first. Made them a perfect target for the military's little social experiment. That was a location I, as Hope's driver, would most likely order Hope to go to. Except why would I? The driver of Hope decides to risk his life. Well, my personal body, the one I was born in, wasn't actually down there. I was something known as an avatar. A genetically engineered being that uses the DNA of its user to connect it on the psionic and psychic level. Although it doesn't just use just human DNA, most of it is actually DNA of many other species on Earth and other worlds, just as chameleons, which allows to blend into any environment with ease by merely placing my back and body against it. Although it takes a lot of training to effectively use all of its abilities, which is a lot, the most common one is changing our skin color to match the patterns in our surrounding environment. Another is an ability to mobilize targets with a screech if you're backed into a corner. Either way, it's very useful to be in a body like this. Everybody gets one when you join a special forces unit, or have a very dangerous job, need to do things that go down to the surface of the planet, but want to risk your own true life. So avatars are used in place and are essentially disposable. You could clone it with no genetic repercussions, unlike you were to clone a human. As long as you had the original genetic material, you could create an avatar from scratch. And it's part of the reason why there's a little genetic base that has a lot of holes. Those holes in the avatar genes are supposed to be filled by your genes. So only you are able to use the avatar that has your genes. Either way, I prefer this, but Soto, the girl who I manipulated, wouldn't recognize me, shuffling in bushes behind me through my honest thoughts. So, you won't give up then, I said. The goblin jumped out. Its green skin being unnatural, like we're genetically engineered that way, or evolved to blend into the trees or plains with green grass. Holstering my RT-A2 LMG on my back, I drew my sword made of A1 titanium alloys. Began to slice through the goblin and clean cut. More would come, but I got out of there before more would distract me. After all, have a group to look after. A few days after, we began our journey towards the White Dragon Mountain. We arrived to the location. We were met by priestess. Welcome, travelers from the Elven Kingdom. I'm priestess Tenichin Brismad. We received your message a few days ago, and as such, we've been preparing for your arrival. Please, come in, said the Dracochin priest. Her right rose black reptilian-like eyes, and the way she walked all confirmed she was a white dragon. We followed her into the mountains. There was a mention of you having guards. I assume these are your escorts? She asked. Yes, that is correct. I assume your people aren't too mad about us bringing weapons into your home? I asked. her voice echoing out the mountain's walls. We don't mind them, as long as you don't, as long as they don't cause any problems here, Priestess Prismat said. We eventually reached an opening to a valley. It was one of the few ways to get into the Dracochin Valley. That's part of the reason why they were so isolated from the world, and didn't really bother exploring the world as well. Eventually, we reached a building that was overlooking the valley. The building in question was relatively plain, with just a few mats for places to sit and a wide view of the valley behind us. The place in question was where the Dracochin spiritual leaders and leaders in general gathered. From Soda, I believe your name is, said one of the Dracochin leaders, looking at me. The person in question had more scales on his face, indicating he was an older Dracochin, but no hair. Only scales, like the young priestess that showed who had just scales around her eyes. He wore similar clothing to Prismad, but more flashy, indicating he was a spiritual leader of the White Dragons. Yes, that is correct. I have some things to talk to you about. Most notably, I was cut off for the Dracochin from before. Here in the Dracochin Mountains, we have a saying, get to know the people you're negotiating with before you negotiate. We are well aware of you want to talk about but how about we get to know each other better? He said, about as well. Right, see, he said, then continued. I am Soda Busius, a human from the Elven Kingdom, I said, starting the introduction. I am Ragnoa Kanoam, a dwarf from the Dwarven Mountains, he said, bowing as well. I am Rhea Kalnis, a dog beastman from the Beastman Confederacy, he said, bowing. Then the leaders of the Dracochin began to introduce themselves. First was the spiritual leader of the Dracochin from before. I am Lakfel Brismad, the Dracochin spiritual leader, he said. Then next was the leader of the Dracochin. I am Chieftain Adan Gun Soksoft, political leader of the Dracochin people, he said, but bowing. His clothing clearly expired by Eastern kings. He wore no crown, his face appeared like scales, and no hair similar to that of Lakfa. Nice to meet you, Chieftain Ardagan. I believe formalities are over, and we can begin now? Yes, that is true. Now about this wanderer, you believe it may come to our mountain? The chief asked. Yes, I have reason to believe it may be attracted to this mountain in general. The wanderer has the ability to detect things like gold and silver, which the Elven Empire took advantage of these past few weeks, he said. So, is this wanderer a threat to us? I have no reason to believe so. It's more of an explorer, only to defend itself when necessary. Most of the time, remains docile, I said. Alright, then what does it want with our mountains? There's nothing of interest here, other than magic gems. That's precisely why we're here. We have reason to believe it may be interested in magic gems. Just recently, I decided to use a magic gem to lure it into a spot where we can observe it. Almost immediately, it picked it up. Something came down to collect it, which means it hasn't seen a magic gem before, or magic in that case, I said. But if we do lure it in, what do we get in return? He asked. Oh, I don't know. Possibly knowledge from civilizations thousands of years more advanced than yours. The knowledge to destroy entire worlds or build them from scratch, said someone appearing from the corner. The person in question was really tall, at least 5 heads taller than I was. He had blue skin and looked more like a beastman than anything else. Except what stopped that was his alien clothing. It had a pattern like that of leaves and trees. How did you get in here? Demanded the chieftain. Through the front door, I responded, sitting down on an open crossed legs. Why didn't you reveal yourself earlier? Asked Brismad. For your information, I was planning to talk to you later after they leave. But circumstances do not lie, he said. My people are coming, and we'll set up a base of operations to attack this world. For the past few months, we've been observing this world through the eyes of the Wanderer, he said. So you created the Wanderer, then? The chieftain asked, as they acquired it. I knew who she was talking to, but didn't say anything. Yes, sure as hell beats getting burned in this space. And yes, before you're asked, we're planning on doing that if you don't agree. So you're planning to attacking us then? Asked Chieftain. No, not me specifically. I don't make the rules or these messages. I just pass them on and do my own thing every once in a while, the blue person said. So if we accept our people's offer, what do we get? As I said before, advanced technologies shape worlds, build worlds from scratch, and go to the stars, or the heavens as you call them. You must be bluffing, said the spiritual leader. Only the gods can do that. Well, I'm not, but I will say that if you accept it, your people will greatly benefit from it. That will include us. It's a win-win situation. Also, with enough willpower, anything can be done. Yeah. Alright. How long do you have till your people arrive? Asked the chieftain. Around 3 months, he said. Alright. You'll hear from us in a day if that's fine, chieftain said. I'm fine with that. After all, we do have 3 months before they arrive, the blue giant said. Tina-chan, can you please show our guests to their room, please? Asked Prince Matt. Yes, grandfather, she said, while bowing. If you would please, said the princess. We then started to follow her, including the blue giant. We went down the step to the center of the valley. This place somewhat reminds me of the Condi Valley back home, Blue Giant said. So this Condi Valley place, were you born there? Also, you haven't told us your name, and yet you're able to negotiate with a Jacob change without introducing yourself, Noah said. They already know me. All they did was put on an act. Also, the Condi Valley is the place I was born in. It was in another world. The Condi Valley was where the Serpent Regiment was trained. Wait, you're part of a military organization? Noah explained. Sort of. It's more of a training place where we try to survive in the wilderness for 6 months without dying, and is where I lived for 6 months, the Blue Giant said. Also, what's your name? Ragnora asked. My name? We stopped for a moment. He continued. Eagle. That's my name. Eagle is your name? That's a real name. That sounds like you would give it to an animal, like a bird. That's because it is the name of an animal, at least where I was born. Everything else over there was completely alien to the animals. I'm used to seeing back where I was born. Oh, I see, Ragnar said. We stopped in front of a building. We're here if you have any questions. Please ask one of the staff members. They'll try to help you to the best of their abilities, Priestess Brismat said. Alright, thank you for your help, I said, bowing. Thank you, said Magnolia, way up bowing as well. Thank you, Hugo said early on. Sorry, it's been a long day for me, so I'm going to clock in. See you tomorrow morning, Hugo said. We're laying down on his bed. The sun was starting to descend, so we did too. Laying on bed, I thought, why did he ask me to come down here when he could have just came down here himself? But I shook that out of my head. I had to sleep, and so I did.